The millionaire stood at the edge of the Brooklyn Bridge, his hands gripping the cold steel cable. At 34 years old, Jonathan Pierce had lost everything that mattered. 3 days ago, he was worth $47 million. Tonight, he had $23 in his pocket and a warrant out for his arrest. His business partner, Trevor Walsh, was dead, or so everyone believed. The police called it suicide, but they blamed Jonathan for pushing him to it. The SEC investigation, the frozen assets, the public accusations. Trevor had left a note. "I can't live with what we've done." Jonathan knew everything, but Jonathan hadn't known anything. He'd been traveling in Singapore when Trevor executed the trades that destroyed their hedge fund and wiped out hundreds of investors' retirement accounts. By the time Jonathan flew home, federal agents were waiting at JFK. His phone buzzed one last time before he'd tossed it into the East River. A text from his sister. "Don't call me again. Dad would be ashamed." The wind whipped across the bridge, carrying the smell of the harbor below. Jonathan lifted one foot to climb over the railing. The water looked black and final. No more courtrooms, no more reporters, no more faces twisted with hatred. "Mister, you dropped something." The small voice froze him mid-motion. He turned his head slowly. A little girl stood about 15 feet away, holding a bunch of white roses wrapped in cellophane. She couldn't have been more than 9, wearing a thin denim jacket that had seen too many winters. Her dark hair was pulled into a braid, and her brown eyes reflected the bridge lights. "I didn't drop anything," Jonathan said, his voice rough from not speaking for hours. "Go away, kid. This isn't safe." The girl didn't move. Instead, she walked closer, her sneakers making soft sounds on the walkway. "You're gonna jump, aren't you? That's not your concern. Where are your parents?" "Just Tia Rosa now. Mama died 4 months ago." The girl said it simply, like she was stating the weather. "Cancer. We couldn't pay for the treatment because we don't have papers." Jonathan's grip on the cable tightened. He didn't want to hear this. He didn't want to feel anything. The girl kept talking, her voice steady despite the wind. "I sell flowers to help Tia Rosa with bills. These roses, I was saving them because they're the nice ones, but I think maybe you need them more than the people in suits going home. I don't need flowers." "Everybody needs flowers," Mama used to say. She said flowers are like hope. They don't last forever, but while they're here, they remind us that beautiful things still exist. Despite himself, Jonathan looked at the girl more closely. She had the same determined expression his niece used to have before his family stopped letting him see her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya. Maya Rodriguez." She took another step closer. "What's yours?" "It doesn't matter." "It matters." Maya's voice was firm now. "Names always matter. Mama said every person has a story, and their name is the first chapter." Jonathan felt something crack inside his chest. This 9-year-old girl, who'd lost her mother and was selling flowers on a bridge at 8 o'clock at night, was talking about hope and stories. "Jonathan," he whispered. "My name is Jonathan." Maya smiled a little. "That's a good name. Like Jonathan in the Bible. He was loyal." "I'm not loyal. I'm not anything. I'm a fraud who destroyed people's lives." "Did you mean to?" "What? Did you mean to hurt people?" Maya asked, tilting her head. "No. No, I didn't. But that doesn't matter. Everyone thinks I did." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "When Mama got sick, some people at the hospital said mean things. They said we shouldn't be here, that we were taking resources from real Americans. But Mama said, 'Maya, what people say about you isn't who you are. What you do when no one's looking, that's who you really are.'" Jonathan's vision blurred with tears. "Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman. She was the best." Maya's voice cracked now, the first sign of her being a child. "She worked so hard. 2 jobs. She cleaned offices at night so I could go to school during the day." "Which offices?" "Lots of them. The last one was in Manhattan. Pierce Capital Management, I think. She really liked that job because her boss let her bring me sometimes when school was closed." The world tilted. Jonathan's heart stopped, then started again, hammering against his ribs. "What did you say?" "Pierce Capital Management. That was the name on the door. Why? Do you know it? Jonathan carefully climbed down from the railing, his legs shaking so badly he nearly fell. He sank to his knees on the walkway. Maya. Your mother worked for me? Maya's eyes went wide. You're Mr. Pierce? The one Mama said was always nice to the cleaning people, the one who learned her name and asked about me. Rosa. Your mother was Rosa Rodriguez. You remember her? Maya's face lit up with joy and pain mixed together. Of course I remember her. She was kind and thorough, and she always had pictures of you on her cleaning cart. Jonathan's throat was so tight he could barely speak. Maya, I didn't know she'd passed. I've been out of the country, and then everything happened so fast. Maya nodded slowly. Mama got sick fast. 3 months from diagnosis to gone. She tried to keep working, but in the end, she couldn't. Jonathan thought about Rosa, who'd smiled every morning when he arrived early at the office, who'd once sewn a button back on his jacket when she noticed it was loose, who'd talked about her daughter's straight A's with such pride. When did she die, Maya? Exactly when? February 18th. Why? February 18th. 2 weeks before Trevor executed the fraudulent trades. 2 weeks before everything fell apart. Maya, this is going to sound strange, but did your mother leave anything behind? Any papers, a phone, anything from her work? Maya shifted the flowers to her other arm. Tia Rosa has a box of Mama's things. Why? Because I think your mother might have seen something. Something important. About what? Jonathan looked at this little girl, and he made a decision. He couldn't give up. Not if there was even a chance to clear his name. Not if Rosa might have left evidence. Maya, I need your help. But first I need to know something. Are you really out here selling flowers alone? Maya bit her lip. Tia Rosa thinks I'm at my friend Lucia's house, but Lucia covers for me. We need the money, and people buy more flowers at night from a kid than during the day from Tia. A 9-year-old working the streets at night because her family was desperate. Just like he was desperate. Just like Rosa had been desperate to save her daughter. Okay, Jonathan said. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to buy all your flowers. Every single one. How much? Maya's eyes widened. All of them? That's $30 worth. Jonathan pulled out his remaining cash. $23. He gave it all to her. Take it. It's all I have. But that's only $23. Then I owe you $7. Will you trust me to pay you back? Maya looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Mama always said Mr. Pierce was honorable. I trust you. She handed him the roses, and Jonathan held them awkwardly, these symbols of hope from a woman who died and a girl who kept living anyway. Maya, can you take me to your Tia Rosa? I need to see what your mother left behind. Why? Because I think your mother might have been the only person who could prove I didn't do what they're saying I did. And if that's true, then some very dangerous people might not want that information to come out. Maya's face grew serious. You mean Mama might have died because of something she knew? No, Jonathan said quickly. No, your mother died from cancer. But she might have known something that could help me, and maybe help other people too. Maya thought about it, then nodded. Okay, but you have to promise you won't do anything bad. Mama liked you, and Mama was never wrong about people. I promise. They walked off the Brooklyn Bridge together, Jonathan Pierce carrying an armful of white roses and a small spark of something he'd thought was dead, hope. Maya led Jonathan to a small apartment in Sunset Park. The building was old, with cracked paint and a front door that didn't lock properly. They climbed 3 flights of stairs, and Maya knocked in a pattern on Unit 3C. A woman in her 50s opened the door. Her resemblance to Rosa was immediate, the same warm eyes, though these were surrounded by worry lines. Maya Elena Rodriguez. Where have you been? I was about to call Lucia's mother. Then she saw Jonathan. Her expression shifted to suspicion. Who's this? Tia, this is Mr. Pierce. He was Mama's boss. He needs to talk to us about something important. Rosa's sister. Rosa had mentioned her name once. Gabriella, Jonathan said. Your name is Gabriella, right? Rosa talked about you. Gabriella's suspicion didn't ease. I know who you are. I've seen you on the news. The fraud man. The one they say pushed his partner to kill himself. I didn't, and that's why I'm here. I think Rosa might have seen something at the office that could prove it. My sister is dead. Leave her out of your problems. Please, Jonathan said, and his voice broke. Please, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me see if Rosa left anything that might help. If there's nothing, I'll leave and never bother you again. Maya tugged on her aunt's sleeve. Tia, he was going to jump off the bridge. I stopped him. Mama would want us to help. Gabriella looked between Jonathan and Maya, then sighed heavily. 10 minutes, that's all. The apartment was tiny but immaculate. Pictures of Maya and Rosa covered every surface. Jonathan saw Rosa's face frozen in time, smiling at birthday parties, at Maya's school events, at Christmas. The box is in Maya's room, Gabriella said. I packed it myself after Rosa died. Her phone, some papers from work, her apron, things like that. Maya disappeared and returned, carrying a cardboard box with Mama written on the side in marker. Inside were the remnants of a life. A uniform shirt from the cleaning company, a phone with a cracked screen, a rosary, and a folder of papers. Jonathan's hands shook as he opened the folder. Inside were pay stubs, a birthday card Maya had made, and 3 printed emails. His breath caught as he read them. They were internal emails from Pierce Capital, dated February 15th, 16th, and 17th, between Trevor and someone named R.K., discussing moving funds to offshore accounts, planning the timing of trades, coordinating the cover-up. She printed these, Jonathan whispered. Rosa printed these before she got too sick to work. What are they? Gabriella asked. Proof. Proof that Trevor was planning everything days before he executed the trades. Proof that he was working with someone else. Proof that I was out of the country and couldn't have known. Jonathan looked up, tears streaming down his face. Your sister saved my life. Even while she was dying, she saw something wrong, and she saved these. Who's R.K.? Maya asked, looking at the emails. Jonathan's mind raced. R.K. Richard Kovac? No, Richard was in Boston. Rebecca Klein? She was in accounting, but she'd been let go 6 months ago. Rachel. His blood ran cold. Ryan Cashian, he said slowly. My lawyer. My defense lawyer. He's R.K. Your own lawyer? Gabriella said. That's impossible. Not if he and Trevor planned this together. Not if Trevor faked his death and they're both waiting for the heat to die down before accessing all the money they stole. Jonathan looked at the dates again. These emails were sent while I was in Singapore. Trevor knew exactly when I'd be unreachable. And Ryan, he's had access to everything about my defense. He's known every move the prosecutors were making. So what do you do now? Maya asked. I need to make copies of these, multiple copies, and then I need to get them to someone I can trust. Jonathan pulled out Rosa's phone. Is there a charger for this? Maya ran to get one. While they waited for the phone to power on, Jonathan explained everything to Gabriella. How Trevor had executed unauthorized trades, how investors had lost everything, how Trevor's supposed suicide note blamed Jonathan, how his assets were frozen and he couldn't even afford a different lawyer. If Trevor's alive, Gabriella said slowly, where is he? Probably somewhere without extradition. Cayman Islands, maybe. Or he could be hiding in plain sight under a different name. The phone finally turned on. It was old, barely functioning, but it had photos. Lots of photos of Maya. And in the background of 3 of them, taken at the office when Rosa had brought Maya to work, Jonathan could see it. The photos were date-stamped February 16th. In the background, through an office window, you could see Trevor's office. And in one crystal-clear shot, you could see Trevor and another man having an intense conversation. Jonathan zoomed in. The other man was Ryan Cashian. Got you, Jonathan whispered. But then Maya's face went pale. Mr. Pierce, if Mr. Trevor and Mr. Ryan know Mama had pictures and emails, are they going to come after us? Jonathan's stomach dropped. Have either of you been contacted by anyone asking about Rosa's belongings? Gabriella nodded slowly. 2 weeks ago, a man came by. Said he was from the cleaning company. Wanted to collect Rosa's uniform and any company property. I gave him the uniform but said there wasn't anything else. What did he look like? Tall, white, brown hair. Expensive watch. Ryan Cashian. We need to leave, Jonathan said, standing up. Now, all of us. What? Why? Gabriella asked. Because if Ryan knows Rosa might have had evidence, and he knows you're her family, he's going to come back. And this time he won't just ask nicely. As if on cue, footsteps sounded in the hallway. Heavy, multiple people. Jonathan moved quickly, shoving the emails and phone into his jacket. Is there another way out? Fire escape in Maya's bedroom, Gabriella whispered, her face white with fear. A knock on the door, gentle at first, then harder. Gabriela Rodriguez. This is building management. We need to talk about your lease. That's not building management, Gabriella whispered. I paid rent yesterday. Jonathan grabbed Maya's hand. Fire escape. Now. They ran into the small bedroom. Jonathan pushed open the window and climbed out onto the rusty fire escape. Gabriella helped Maya through, then climbed out herself. Behind them, the apartment door crashed open. Men's voices shouted. Go, go, Jonathan urged, and they clambered down the fire escape as fast as they could. Above them, a man's head appeared in the window. They're on the fire escape. Jonathan's mind raced. They were 2 floors up. He could see the alley below, but jumping would be dangerous, especially for Maya. Keep going down, he shouted. They reached the first-floor platform. The ladder to the ground was retractable, but rusted in place. Jonathan kicked it hard, once, twice, and on the third kick it groaned and dropped. Maya went down first, then Gabriella. Jonathan was halfway down when he heard the fire escape groaning above him. The men were coming down fast. Jonathan hit the alley ground and they ran. His heart hammered in his chest. He hadn't run in years, and his body protested every step, but fear pushed him forward. Maya kept up surprisingly well, but Gabriella was struggling. They burst out of the alley onto a busy street. Subway, Jonathan gasped. We need to get on the subway. They ran down the steps of the nearest station. Jonathan didn't have a Metro card, but a kind stranger swiped them through when they begged. They jumped on the first train that arrived, pressing themselves into the crowded car. Through the window, Jonathan could see 2 men in suits scanning the platform. One of them was definitely Ryan Cashian. The train lurched forward. They were safe. For now. Maya was crying silently, and Gabriella held her close. Jonathan's mind raced through options. They couldn't go to the police, not yet. Ryan had probably already planted evidence to implicate Jonathan further. They needed to get this evidence to someone who couldn't be bought or intimidated. I know someone, Jonathan said quietly. A journalist. She's been covering the case. She's the only one who's questioned the official narrative. Will she believe you? Gabriella asked. I don't know, but I have to try. They rode the train to Manhattan, switching lines twice to make sure they weren't followed. Jonathan's phone was gone, but he remembered the journalist's name, Caroline Zhang. She worked for ProPublica. They found a library that was still open and used a public computer. Jonathan sent an email from a throwaway account. Caroline, this is Jonathan Pierce. I have evidence that Trevor Walsh is alive and framed me with the help of my own lawyer. I have emails, photos, and a witness. Meet me at the Jefferson Market Library on 6th Avenue in 1 hour. Come alone. If you're followed, I'll disappear, and you'll never get this story. He hit send and prayed she'd see it in time. 58 minutes later, a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense haircut walked into the library. She looked around carefully, then approached their table. Jonathan Pierce? She said quietly. That's me. Thank you for coming. I'm probably insane for this. You know there's a manhunt for you, right? They think you fled. I have proof I didn't do it. But first, I need you to promise you'll protect Maya and Gabriella. They're in danger because they helped me. Caroline looked at Maya and Gabriella, then back at Jonathan. Show me what you have. Jonathan laid out everything. The emails Rosa had printed, the photos from her phone, the timeline showing he was in Singapore, the connection between Trevor and Ryan. Caroline's eyes grew wider with each piece of evidence. She took photos of everything with her phone, then looked up at Jonathan. This is explosive. If this is real, this is one of the biggest financial fraud cases in years, and it goes deeper than anyone thought. It's real. But I need your help. I need you to publish this in a way that protects Maya and Gabriella. They can't be exposed. What about you? I don't care what happens to me anymore, but Rosa died trying to get justice, and her daughter saved my life tonight. I owe them everything. Caroline was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to contact the FBI directly, someone I trust who's not connected to the New York office. I'm going to give them all of this evidence, but first, I'm publishing the story online in 1 hour. That way, if anything happens to any of us, the truth is already out there. They'll come after us as soon as it publishes, probably, which is why the FBI will already be moving. I'll coordinate the timing." True to her word, Caroline moved fast. She made calls. She typed furiously on her laptop, and exactly 1 hour later, the story went live on ProPublica's website. Financial fraudster may have faked own death. New evidence suggests elaborate frame-up of business partner. The article didn't name Rosa or Maya. It said the evidence came from an anonymous custodial worker who had since passed away. But it had the emails, the photos with faces blurred, and a timeline that made Trevor's suicide look impossible. Within minutes, the story was everywhere. Twitter exploded, financial news channels picked it up, and Jonathan's phone, which Caroline had lent him, started ringing with a number from Washington, D.C. "Mr. Pierce, this is Special Agent Elena Martinez with the FBI. I've been authorized to bring you in for protective custody while we verify this evidence. Where are you?" Jonathan gave the address. Within 20 minutes, FBI agents swarmed the library. But they weren't there to arrest him. They were there to protect him. "Mr. Cashian has already fled," Agent Martinez told Jonathan. "We went to his apartment and office. Both empty. He cleared out fast. And Trevor? We're working on that. But Mr. Pierce, this evidence you've provided, if it's authentic, it's everything we need to reopen the case and clear your name." Over the next 72 hours, everything unraveled. Ryan Cashian was caught at JFK trying to board a flight to Dubai. He immediately cut a deal and confirmed everything. Trevor was alive, living in Grand Cayman under the name Thomas Whitmore. He'd staged his suicide with Ryan's help, leaving the frame-up note behind. Federal agents coordinated with Cayman authorities. Trevor Walsh was arrested on the beach outside his rented villa, $23 million still, in accounts under various shell company names. The other investors' money, what was left of it, about $14 million, was frozen and would be returned to the victims. Jonathan's assets were unfrozen. All charges were dropped. His name, while not completely cleared in the court of public opinion, was no longer synonymous with fraud. But none of that mattered as much as what happened 3 months later. Jonathan stood in a family courtroom, his palms sweating. Gabriella sat beside him, and Maya sat between them, her legs swinging nervously. "Your Honor," the judge said, looking over the paperwork, "this is a rather unusual petition. Mr. Pierce, you're requesting joint guardianship of Maya Rodriguez with her Aunt Gabriella." "Yes, Your Honor," Jonathan said. "Maya saved my life, and her mother saved my reputation and my future. I want to honor that by helping raise Maya, by giving her opportunities, by being there for her the way Rosa would have wanted. Miss Rodriguez, you agree to this arrangement?" Gabriella nodded. "My niece deserves everything I can't give her alone. And Mr. Pierce, he's proven himself. He came back for us when he could have just disappeared with the evidence. He made sure we were safe. That's what family does." The judge looked at Maya. "And you, young lady, what do you think about this?" Maya looked up at Jonathan, then at Gabriella, then back at the judge. "I think Mama would be happy. She always said Mr. Pierce was a good man. And when I was on that bridge, and I saw him there, I think maybe Mama sent me to save him. But really, we saved each other." The judge smiled, the first genuine smile Jonathan had seen from her. Motion granted. Joint guardianship is awarded to Gabriella Rodriguez and Jonathan Pierce. 6 months after that, On a warm October evening, Jonathan and Maya stood on the Brooklyn Bridge, the same spot where they'd met. "This is where everything changed," Maya said, holding a single white rose. "Yeah," Jonathan agreed. "This is where I almost gave up. I'm glad you didn't." "Me too, kid. Me too." Maya threw the rose into the water below, a memorial for her mother. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, "for teaching me to see people for who they really are, for teaching me that helping others is never wasted." Jonathan put his arm around her shoulders. "Your mum was the bravest person I never really knew. She saw something wrong, and she saved that information even while she was dying. She didn't have to do that. Mama always said we have to look out for each other. Rich, poor, doesn't matter. We're all just people trying to get through." They stood there for a while, watching the city lights reflect on the water. The same water that had looked so final 6 months ago now looked beautiful. "Jonathan," Maya asked, "are you happy now?" Jonathan thought about it. He'd lost his business. Most of his money was gone to legal fees and restitution settlements. He lived in a modest apartment in Brooklyn instead of a penthouse in Manhattan. His days of being a millionaire were over. But he had Maya. He had Gabriella, who cooked Sunday dinners and treated him like family. He had a job at a non-profit, helping fraud victims navigate the legal system. He had purpose. "Yeah," he said softly, "I'm happy. Happier than I ever was when I had everything." "Good," Maya said, "because you're stuck with me now. Wouldn't have it any other way." They walked off the Brooklyn Bridge together, hand in hand, heading home to the small apartment where Gabriella was making enchiladas and where Maya's homework waited on the kitchen table and where a life worth living was being built one ordinary day at a time. The millionaire who'd almost jumped had learned what actually mattered. And the little girl selling flowers had learned that her mother's legacy, kindness in the face of hardship, helping others even when you have nothing, would live on forever. Not in money or mansions or investments that rose and fell with the market, but in the simple act of one person reaching out to another and saying, "You matter. Your life matters. Don't give up." That was the real fortune. That was what Rosa had left behind. And that was what Jonathan and Maya would carry forward, together, for the rest of their lives.